You meet someone. They are kind, warm, they laugh at your jokes, they listen. You feel seen, safe, maybe even understood. And then, one day, out of nowhere, they accuse you of something insane, something you never did, lying, manipulating, being just like everyone else. You stand there stunned, speechless, not because it hurts, but it makes no sense. It's as if they were seeing someone else entirely, a stranger wearing your face. You rewind everything in your mind. Did I say something wrong? Did I miss a signal? Was I too distant? Too close? You question your own sanity. You question your memory. You even question your worth. But what if the problem was never you? Carl Jung once said, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves." But what if some people are so terrified of that understanding that they would rather burn the mirror than face what's in it? This video is not about them. It's about what lives inside them, what they refuse to see, and what happens when they project that darkness onto you. We're going to talk about the human shadow, the parts of us we deny, repress, and bury until they explode. We will explore how that explosion feels when it lands on your life, in relationships, in families, in toxic workplaces, and even on a global scale. Because here's the terrifying truth. The person accusing you might not even know they are lying. Their shadow is. And until you learn to see it, you will keep walking into rooms where people smile with their lips and sharpen knives behind their eyes. But by the end of this video, you will know how to spot a projection, how to protect your mind from someone else's madness, and how to stop mistaking their darkness for your reflection. This is not just psychology, it's survival. So, stay with me, because what you are about to learn might just save you from the next silent attack, the kind that does not leave bruises, but breaks something much deeper. There's a strange moment in life that's hard to explain until you have lived through it. You are working hard, on time, committed, even going the extra mile, but your boss keeps calling you lazy. He micromanages everything, watches your every move, and yet takes no responsibility when things go wrong. You start to think, maybe I'm not doing enough, maybe I am lazy, or maybe you are dating someone. Things seem promising, but just when the relationship deepens, they accuse you of being emotionally cold, closed off. You are confused. You have been open, vulnerable, even more than usual. Still, they say, you never really let me in. And then they vanish, ghosted. It does not make sense until you realize something. They were not seeing you at all. They were seeing their own reflection, their own shadow. Carl Jung called it the shadow self, the hidden parts of our psyche we deny, suppress, and bury. It holds everything we don't want to admit, our jealousy, anger, cowardice, cruelty, even our desires. But here's the twist. The more we deny it, the more it controls us. Because what we refuse to face within, we start to see everywhere outside. It's the boss who calls you lazy, because deep down, he feels incompetent and avoids accountability. It's the partner who calls you emotionally unavailable, because they are terrified of real intimacy. It's the person who accuses others of lying, because they have built their entire identity on deception. This is not just hypocrisy, it's projection, a psychological defense mechanism where people unconsciously throw their own darkness onto others. They accuse you of being the thing they cannot admit they are. It's like a haunted house of mirrors, distorted reflections bouncing everywhere, each person fighting their own ghost. On your face. The most dangerous thing about projection is that it's unconscious. They are not faking it, they believe it. They feel righteous in their accusations, because their mind has rewritten reality to protect their ego. Jung said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." That's what projection does. It blinds people to their own flaws by externalizing them, and you become the screen where their nightmares play out. This is not rare, it's everywhere. Think of the friend who can't stop gossiping, yet always warns you not to trust people, or the parent who screams about disrespect, yet belittles everyone around them, or the social media user who crusades against narcissists while worshiping their own image with every selfie. The shadow does not just live in serial killers and sociopaths. It lives in everyday people, your coworker, your partner, your best friend, even you. Because we all have a shadow. But here's the difference. Some people learn to face it, most don't. And the ones who don't, those are the dangerous ones. They walk through life blaming others for the very thing they carry inside. They confuse clarity with attack, honesty with offense, and your boundaries with their abandonment issues. You are not allowed to disagree with them because disagreement threatens their fragile illusion. You are not allowed to succeed because your success reflects their failure. You are not allowed to leave because your departure exposes their emptiness. And yet, to survive, they will convince themselves you are the villain, not them, never them. That's why when someone turns on you out of nowhere, it feels so eerie. It's not just betrayal, it's psychological dissonance. They are fighting a demon, but using your name, and if you don't understand projection, you'll internalize it. You will start carrying guilt that was never yours, apologizing for crimes you didn't commit, shrinking to make others comfortable, second-guessing your truth because someone else can't face theirs. But once you see it, once you understand what projection really is, everything changes. You stop taking things so personally. You stop absorbing people's chaos as your fault, and you start noticing the red flags faster, the misplaced anger, the exaggerated accusations, the stories that don't add up. Because beneath it all, the person yelling at you is not really yelling at you. They are yelling at a part of themselves. They just don't know it yet. Some people don't just carry a shadow, they become it. At first glance, they seem captivating, confident, charismatic, convincing. They speak with absolute certainty. They offer clarity in chaos, and for a moment, you want to believe them. But beneath that shining confidence, something dark is pulsing. Carl Jung warned us of this transformation. He called it ego inflation, when the ego expands so massively, so uncontrollably, that it swallows the person's entire psyche. The result? They no longer have a shadow. They are the shadow. These are the cult leaders who claim divine insight, the narcissistic influencers preaching authenticity while filtering every pixel of their life, the fanatics who divide the world into us and them, preaching morality while inciting hatred. These people don't just deny their darkness, they weaponize it. They create enemies to avoid facing themselves. They turn guilt into blame, fear into rage, and doubt into dogma. Listen closely and you'll hear it. They are out to get us. They hate the truth. Only we are awake. Everyone else is blind. They speak in absolutes. They demand loyalty. And if you disagree, you're not just wrong, you're dangerous, you're evil. This is not just projection anymore. It's a projection combined with power. And that's when it becomes lethal. The moment someone believes they are morally superior, completely right, they become capable of anything. History is full of these figures, leaders who rose with promises of salvation, only to drag nations into madness. They pointed to some external group, the heretics, the outsiders, the unclean, and said, they are the problem. And people believe them, because inflated egos speak with certainty, and certainty is seductive. But don't be fooled by the confidence. Behind every inflated ego is a wounded, terrified child, desperate to feel significant. And the bigger the wound, the louder the performance. Jung said, the larger the persona, the smaller the soul. And when the persona grows into a god, the soul all but vanishes. That's when someone stops questioning themselves. They no longer reflect, no longer doubt, no longer listen. They don't just project their darkness. They export it into systems, followers, algorithms. They build echo chambers. They rewrite reality. And soon, people who follow them begin to see the world the same way, divided, hostile, black and white. You might think this only happens to extremists, but look around. The influencer who shames others for being toxic while bullying behind closed doors. The self-help guru who promises healing but demands worship. The activist who starts with justice but becomes addicted to outrage and purity. The moment someone stops seeing themselves as human, they stop treating you like one. Because when someone's ego becomes godlike, anyone who disagrees becomes a threat. And threats must be controlled, silenced, destroyed. This is the monster you never see coming, because they are not hiding in the dark. They're standing in the spotlight, smiling, preaching, trending, and they believe their own lies. That's what makes them so dangerous. They don't think they're manipulating you, they think they're saving you. But what they're really doing is feeding on your attention, feeding on your need for certainty, feeding on your fear of being alone or wrong or lost. They offer a map, a purpose, a villain. But the map is a maze, the purpose is control, and the villain was never you. Here's what Jung knew. When a person becomes consumed by their ego, when they no longer question themselves, they become possessed. Not by demons, but by a rigid identity that must always be right. These people are not just blind to their shadow. They are the shadow, walking in daylight, draped in confidence, followed by thousands. And the scariest part? They don't look like monsters. They look like leaders, teachers, healers, lovers. But if you listen closely, you will hear the echo of their wound, the desperation behind the certainty, the hunger behind the charm. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Because ego inflation does not whisper, it roars. But only to those still asleep. You open Instagram, there she is again, smiling, radiant, glowing with confidence. He's there too, hustling, thriving, grateful every day. They look perfect. Their lives look perfect. But something feels off. Carl Jung called it the persona, the social mask we wear to survive. It's not fake, he said. It's functional. We all need masks. You wear one at work, one with your parents, another with your friends. But in today's world, the mask is not just worn. It's marketed, filtered, perfected. Social media has turned the persona into a product, a brand, a lifestyle. We no longer present who we are, we perform who we wish we were. We curate our smiles, we rehearse our captions, we delete the messy moments, and somewhere along the way, we start believing our own performance. But here's the paradox. The shinier the mask, the darker the shadow behind it. You have seen it before. The influencer who posts daily affirmations about peace and love, until they explode in a public meltdown. The friend who's always positive, until they snap with sudden cutting cruelty. The guru who preaches humility while demanding silent worship. It's easy to think they are hypocrites, but what's really happening is deeper, more tragic. They have become trapped in their persona, unable to admit weakness, unable to reveal doubt, because if the mask slips, even for a second, they fear the world will see how lost they really are. Jung warned us, the persona is not the enemy. The denial of the shadow is. When someone builds their identity only around light, the darkness festers, unseen, unacknowledged, unloved, and one day, it erupts. Not in private, but in front of millions. We are living in the age of the public mask, a world where everyone's smiling, succeeding, glowing. But behind the screen, people are crumbling. Anxiety, imposter syndrome, loneliness. It's the cost of pretending to be fine all the time. Think about it. How many times have you seen someone's feed and thought, why is not my life like that? How many times have you posted something just to look okay, even when you were not? We are not just lying to others, we are lying to ourselves. And every time we reinforce the persona, we push the shadow further underground. But the shadow does not die in the dark. It grows, it watches, it waits. And when it finally returns, it does not ask permission. It sabotages relationships. It whispers insecurities. It lashes out. Because if we don't make space for the shadow consciously, it forces its way into our lives unconsciously. Here's what Jung understood. True wholeness does not come from polishing your mask. It comes from removing it, at least sometimes. It comes from looking inward, sitting with the discomfort and saying, I am not only light, I am shadow too. And that's not weakness, that's maturity, that's power. Because when you accept your darkness, no one can use it against you. When you embrace your flaws, no one can shame you. And when you drop the mask, even for a moment, you allow others to drop theirs too. The persona will always be part of us. It's necessary. But when we confuse the mask for the truth, we lose sight of who we really are. So next time you scroll through a perfect feed, remember, what you are seeing is a costume, not a confession, a performance, not a person. And maybe, just maybe, the most beautiful thing you can do is not look perfect. You are in a conversation that feels normal, until suddenly It does not. The person across from you raises their voice. They say you are selfish, cold, and manipulative. And you sit there stunned, trying to piece it together, because none of it feels true. But here's the trap. You start wondering, what if it is? You start apologizing. You start shrinking. You start carrying shame that was never yours to begin with. This is how projection works. Carl Jung said, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves." But what he did not say, what we need to say now, is this. Not all criticism is about you. Sometimes it's a confession in disguise. So, how do you protect yourself? How do you know when someone is projecting their shadow onto you? And how do you not absorb it? Let's break it down. Here are the red flags. Sudden emotional overreactions. You express a small opinion, and they explode. It's disproportionate, and you can feel it's not really about you. That's a clue. Accusations that don't match your actions. You were calm. They call you aggressive. You were setting boundaries. They say you're cruel. This mismatch is often a sign that your presence has activated something inside them they can't face. Intense emotional shifts. The mood flips from warm to ice cold, from safe to unsafe, from admiration to attack. Projection is often rooted in disowned pain, and when it surfaces, it destabilizes everything. They describe you in extremes. Always, never, everything, nothing. These absolutes are rarely about truth. They are about control. They are trying to force you into a narrative that helps them avoid their shadow. Recognizing these signs does not make you paranoid. It makes you prepared. One of the most common reactions to projection is defensiveness. You want to explain, clarify, and prove them wrong. But here's the catch. You cannot argue your way out of someone else's wound. When someone has decided you are the enemy, no amount of evidence will change that because you are not fighting facts. You are fighting a fiction that protects their ego. Instead, pause. Take a breath. Ask yourself, does this accusation align with who I know myself to be? If not, don't defend it. Detach from it. Let them wrestle with their shadow. You don't need to step into the ring. This is the heart of emotional boundaries. You can witness someone's storm without getting soaked. It takes practice. But here's a mental exercise. When someone throws a projection at you, imagine holding up a mirror, not a shield. You are not blocking it. You are simply reflecting it back. You say nothing. You don't engage the drama. You just see it for what it is, their inner world leaking out. And you return to your center. Grounding practices help. Feel your feet on the ground. Slow your breath. Focus on physical sensations. These small acts bring you back into your body, so you're not hijacked by their emotion. People who fall for projection are often deeply empathetic. They want to understand, to fix, to help. But empathy without discernment is dangerous. Start building a habit of self-check-ins. What do I actually feel? Does this person's version of me match my self-knowledge? Am I shrinking to fit someone else's story? Journaling helps. Therapy helps. Even a 5-minute reflection each day helps. The more you know yourself, the less likely you are to be manipulated by those who don't know themselves. Some people are not just projecting temporarily. They live in projection. They have built their identity on denial. And being around them is like walking through a hall of funhouse mirrors. Everything is distorted. In these cases, the most powerful boundary is space. You are allowed to walk away. You are allowed to say, "This energy is not mine to hold." You are allowed to choose peace over proximity. Let them call it selfish. You will know it's sanity. You are not here to fix other people's wounds. You're not here to absorb their unprocessed pain. You're not a sponge. You're a soul. Projection is real, but so is your power. So the next time someone throws their shadow at you, don't catch it. Don't fight it. Just see it. Because awareness is the armor, and self-trust is the way out. Let's go back to the beginning. You meet someone. They are kind, warm, safe, and then they accuse you of something insane. But now, you understand. They were not really accusing you. They were speaking to the part of themselves they have buried. You just happened to be the mirror. You showed them what they could not accept in themselves. So they shattered the reflection. That moment, the one that left you confused, doubting, apologizing, it was not madness. It was projection. It was their shadow trying to survive by blaming you. And that changes everything. You no longer carry the weight of their wounds. You don't need to shrink to fit inside someone else's broken story. You don't need to fight, or fix, or prove, because now you can see. Carl Jung said, "Knowing your own darkness is the best method for dealing with the darkness of other people." And that's the truth. We spend so much time trying to be good, understood, liked. But maybe that's not the point. Maybe the real power, the real peace, is not in being seen. It's in seeing clearly. To look into the face of confusion and stay calm. To witness cruelty and not make it personal. To recognize when the monster is not in front of you, it's inside them. And maybe that's what we're really here to do. Not to fight monsters, not to become saviors, not to always be right, but simply to learn how to see in the dark. Because once you can see, no one can trick you into holding their shadow. No one can confuse your light for their pain. No one can make you forget who you are. That's awareness. That's maturity. That's real strength. You don't escape projection by avoiding people. You escape it by seeing through it, by seeing them, and still choosing you.